This summer we're doing a series on freedom, and I've been saving this one up because this is probably the when you think of the scripture and you think of freedom. And John chapter 8, Jesus says, the truth will set you free. And if you think about what this means, it means the opposite is also true, you know. Following a lie will keep you, what? Captive. And so freedom is not just something that you have politically or physically. Like you say, well, no one's has me physically bound. And so you can deceive yourself and think, therefore, I'm free. But the reality is, a lot of us are not free because we're being led around by some kind of lie. And if you buy the lie, then once you buy into the lie, you're no longer a free person. You're being led. Thank you so much. You're being led by a particular lie. And the funny thing about lies are they're not labeled as such. You know, it'd be nice if it was just it came to you and it said, here's a lie. So you want to really, watch out for it. But all lying is by its very nature, it's deceptive. It's organized in a way to get you to buy into it. So, like Charlie's, one of her favorite movies is the story of Pinocchio, right? And little Pinocchio goes to school, and the first thing he does on his way to school is he meets a guy named, you don't know that movie? Honest John. Honest John. Honest John. How many know if you meet a guy named Honest John, your flag should go up? Because Honest John is anything but honest. And it works great for like a little kid's movie, right? Because you start to grab it right away. But that's the nature of a lie. That's the nature of following something. Yesterday Charlie had to wipe out in the water, and she was a little bit scared, and so we got the medical kit out to doctor her up a little bit, and at the front of the medical kit are fruit snacks. And once you put the fruit snacks in, she's healed. Everything else goes away. And there's a funny thing about fruit snacks. What's the funny thing about fruit snacks? There's no fruit in them. The only fruit's in the name. It's a beautifully packaged what? Lie. Let's just call it what it is. It's a lie. It's nothing fruit about it. If I put a piece of apple, I put an apple on there, and I put a fruit snack on there, and I say, Charlie, would you like a fruit snack? Which one does she think is a fruit snack? The lie. Because she bought it. And if you just repeat it enough, then all of a sudden that's what it is. That's a fruit snack. Has no nutritional value, but what it does have is great packaging. And so today we want to talk about how Jesus teaches us that you have to discover the truth, and once you do, that sets you free. It's really hard because when we're buying the lie, we don't know it. That's the whole thing. Looking in the rearview mirror, some of us could now say, I remember buying a lie. Can anybody put your hand up? I remember following a lie. I remember following something that later on I learned was not true at all. So if you're going to get free, you have to be aware and alert. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news or kind of started on a downer, but let me at least be a realist. there's a good chance that most of us, for a large part of our lives, are going to be lied to. I don't know if you've heard that before. And I'm not trying to be a downer. I think, if anything, I hope to just bring our antennas up. And I think that's the reason that the first thing that little Pinocchio experiences, the first thing he experiences, Honest John. That here was a guy that actually wanted to take Pinocchio captive. And exactly what he does. Takes him into captivity. But it starts with getting him to believe something that's not true. You got to sell it. I mean, don't think it's an accident. By Genesis chapter 3, you get there and then the serpent comes and says, did God really say that? Did God really say you're going to die? You're not going to die. I want to read something that somebody sent to me, and I thought this is probably worth sharing with the church. And then I'm going to come back to this text. So before you're inclined to email me or something, I'm going to say I'm reading. This is something that someone else wrote. I can give you their name. And you can say, well, you're repeating it, so therefore you're a part of it. But I just want you to just ask yourself if there's any truth to this. Because one of the things that happens is once we believe a lie, then we tend to start lying to ourselves. And once you're lying to yourself, you're toast. Because you're now what the Bible calls you're deceiving yourself. And once you're deceiving yourself, I mean, it takes a real sledgehammer to get you to wake up. So let me just read a couple things. The best way to deal with everyday problems of living is to solve them directly or wait them out. Seems like common sense. Like, that's not a real profound sentence. The best way to deal with everyday problems, anybody here got problems? There are all kinds, right? There are money problems, there's health problems, there's relationship problems. Anybody got problems? I mean, I'm not trying to make it depressing, but let's just keep it real. Anybody got a problem out there? That's just life. That's called life. And everyday problems is to solve them or wait them out. Not to medicate them with a diagnosis or treat them with a pill. Now let's bring it into context. Overcoming problems on your own normalizes the situation, teaches new skills, and brings you closer to the people who were helpful. Taking a pill labels you as different and sick, even if you really aren't. Now, let me just do my typical don't email me caveat. I know some people need medication, okay? I'm not the one that would say whether they do or whether they don't, not qualified. But the one thing that I think I can say with a lot of certainty, and this, I did not write this, but it's a lot easier now to just grab a quick fix, take a pill, accept a label. Be real careful, Chris, be careful. But there, all right, I'll start with me. You can get lied to by a pastor. Okay, so I hope every week you go home or you have your discernment cap on and go, we'll set that one over here. Chris might have not got enough sleep. That's okay. I don't demand you believe anything that I tell you. And one of the powerful lies, right, would come from someone that comes in the name of God. So you can definitely get lied to. So I already put that out there. But you can get lied to by a doctor too. With a big title and a big name. They're not all bad. There are a lot of great pastors, a lot of great doctors. Listen, wait till I get to the end. You can get lied to by a doctor because they only have so many tools to work with. I mean, I don't know how many doctors say, you know what, you probably could use an injection of faith. You know, never happened to me. Now, I know that's not what they're equipped to do, but we're handing out a lot of pills. We're handing out a lot of pills. So this person writes about a young girl named Josie that comes into her office and went to see a doctor, and the doctor said, you know, you're suffering from anxiety. Okay? That could at some point become like a medical, I don't know. I mean, I didn't go to medical school, and that somewhere they have to. But what also is true is every human being that walks on this planet suffers from anxiety. What's anxiety? You know what? Let me put my glasses on, babe, because I got to see if they're even with me here. I can't tell if they're happy or mad or frown. I mean, I'll probably say it anyway. You know me, but at least I'll know. Not bad. Okay, a couple of smiles. And look, your anxiety is not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. Being unsure of tomorrow. Who here knows what's going to happen tomorrow? Nobody. Every person in this room has this in common. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I just did a funeral yesterday for just a beautiful member of Orchard Grove, and was just chiming along. All of a sudden, sister called me. Bam, she's gone. Just like that. Went into the hospital, not like feeling with some stomach problems. You don't think stomach problems? I think I'm going to be okay. 10 hours later, gone. Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You might get fired tomorrow. Yeah. The economy might crash tomorrow. Yeah. Right? Right? You might get sick. Your aunt might get sick. Your dog might get sick. Your neighbor might. It's tomorrow. Nobody knows. This is the wisdom of Scripture. Don't go saying, in James it says, don't say this is going to happen, that's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Nobody knows. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to, instead of the old way where you worked through your problems and you figured your way out, or you waited them out. How about waiting out a problem? Because there is no solution. Come on. Sometimes there isn't one. You know, you get all the whiteboard out, you're drawing it up there, and like, This is just sit and wait. And what that does is it develops a new skill in you. It develops you. So here's what this person says. Maybe we need more development and less diagnosis. Once you accept a diagnosis, this is what you have, this is what you are, all of a sudden, you now become a victim. Now, the Scripture says you and I walk by faith and not by sight. So I know this isn't for everybody. What I'm selling ain't for everybody. Some people don't want to walk by faith. They want to walk by sight. I want to have an answer. I want to have everything laid out for me. I want to know. And I'm telling you that's a road. That is a road. But there will come a point in your life where you will have to decide, will I live my life by sight or by faith? By faith means I don't know. I don't know. One of the things that we want the most in life, we want to know. You know the one thing that all of us are addicted to? Certainty. That's what we're addicted to. I need to know. I need to be certain. And life is incredibly uncertain, unpredictable, without guarantees. So the only thing that you can walk into tomorrow with is a guarantee that God's going to be with me tomorrow. There are things that you can do and you should do to prepare for tomorrow. There's things that you should participate in, you should plan, you could do all of that. But all of it is still uncertain. It's not a guarantee. The path of Christ is the path to truest freedom because it allows you to let go. Whom the Son sets free is free, what? Indeed, he's truly free. If you really want to be free, you got to follow the path of the Son. And this is not the same path that everybody else is on. 3 things you'll let go of. Your control. Right after certainty, right, is control. I want to know for sure what's going to happen tomorrow, and I want to be in charge of it. And that's what we do. And to a limited degree, we do. You get to have some effect on tomorrow. Like, let's say you study hard. You might be able to get a better grade. Let's say you work hard. You might get a promotion. So there's dabbling in this. There's parts of it because God made us in his image, and we have a lot of say about tomorrow. I'm not going to say you have no say. You just sit back. Faith is not just sitting there and doing nothing. But sometimes you do everything that you can, and you still realize this is outside of my control. There are things in life that you can control, and then there are things in life that you cannot control. And when you live by faith, you realize the difference, and you say, some things I can't control. What was the first? Do you remember Jesus comes, and right before he launches his public ministry, he goes into the wilderness to be tested and to be tempted. Do you remember this? What's the first test? He's hungry. He hasn't eaten for 40 days and 40 nights. And the tempter comes to him and says, look at these stones. Turn them into bread. Turn these stones into bread. It's like a shortcut. It's a shortcut. Just, come on, Jesus, just do one of those. What do you think of this constant diet of pills is doing to our society? Shortcuts. It's just a shortcut. Everybody here, there is good medication. I'm completely convinced of that. So this is not an anti-medication message. If you looked at the statistics of what's happening in America versus what's happening around the world, and you saw the increase of whatever you would call them, you can call them mental illnesses, you could call them you could call them psychological challenges. There's a number of ways you could label them, but what you also see is that there's this sweeping arc of medication that's bombing us and numbing us. The other thing that people will tell you is what happens is, to deal with it, you feel less. Yeah, you feel less anxiety, but you feel less joy. You feel less connected to your family. You feel less happiness. Take these stones and just turn them to bread. Wow, what a temptation. Man, it was right there. Just take it. Just fix it. The problem is when we keep taking shortcuts in life, somewhere along the line you have to pay the price. And what the lie is like, if you you don't need faith. I meet people all the time and they think people of faith they don't come out and say it to me because most people are a little bit polite. But here's what the implication is. If you're a person of faith, you're kind of weak. And I'll just say it, because they don't say it out loud, but you're kind of stupid. Because you need to believe in that stuff to get through your life. And it's nice for you. I'll see some of the boys I grew up with this summer, and go on a golf trip, and they're all nice. He's a pastor. He couldn't get a real job, He was but there's something under there. I think what a lot of people think is it's like a sugar pill. You just take it and you believe it doesn't really actually ever fix anything, but if it works for them, that's fine. And by the way, if there is nothing to this God stuff, which of course I believe there is, but if there's nothing and it is a big sugar pill, but if the sugar pill works, no, but think about it. If people are depressed and full of anxiety and fear, and all of a sudden they drop their fear and they start walking with confidence and faith and hope and all that, and you say, it's all just, but it worked. Having some faith, having something to believe in, to know that God is in your tomorrow, that God will take care of your tomorrow, that God will take care of your problems, that God is with you through your mistakes. Who's got a couple of those? But that He's not going to even abandon you there. I remember the story of Daniel. And then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? And the king makes this big statue, 90 feet tall, 9 feet wide. He tells everyone to bow down to it. And these three guys won't bow down to the statue. And Nebuchadnezzar gets so angry, it says he's furious with rage. And he says, is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship this big golden image? Now, when you hear the sound of the horn and the flute and the harp, and he says, I want you to fall down. But if you do not worship it, you'll be thrown into this blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand? Everybody falls down. Sometimes I'm the guy that I can't do it just because everyone's doing it. I went to this concert the other night, and they gave everybody a bracelet. And they go, you got to wear this bracelet. It's got lights up, and I just couldn't do it. The only reason I couldn't do it was because everybody did it. Aren't I a jerk? At times I just think, why can't I just go along? I just couldn't do it. No, everybody's doing it. I can't. Sometimes, you got to be the guy that won't. Maybe not in that situation, but in other situations, everybody's. It's good for you every once in a while to not do the thing everyone's doing. Everyone's bowing down, and here they are. The king gets so furious, he makes the furnace hotter than ever. And he says, who's now going to save you? And listen to what they say. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. I like it. If we are thrown into this blazing furnace, the God that we serve is able to save us from it, and he will rescue us from your hand, O king. The God that we serve, he's going to take care of us. That's faith. When you're standing before a fiery furnace, that's faith. It says, God's going to take care of me. I don't know. I don't need to defend. I don't need a lawyer. This is our decision. And the thing that drives my decision is my confidence in God. Faith. Life is completely uncertain, friends. So the first prescription that you need, the first injection that you need is faith. That's the one you need. Faith says, I don't know what's good. Now listen. But, verse 18, but, even if he doesn't, how many know sometimes you get it all, God's going to come through, God's going to do this. Whoever had a belief that God was going to come through, he's going to do this, and then God didn't. Because God had another plan. You know, you had the plan in your head, this is how God's going to rescue me, this is how, but he goes, but even if he doesn't, because sometimes God doesn't do the thing that you think he's going to do, you need faith for both situations. That God's going to rescue you, that God's going to get you out of it, that God's going to take care of it. But you also need to know sometimes God's not going to. It's happened to you. God's going to give me this promotion. I know it. I see it. I see it. I see it. He called you in the office. You're ready for the promotion. It's a demotion. Even if he doesn't, we want you to know something. We're still not going to bow down. We're still not going to worship. If he does or if he doesn't. I believe he's gonna. I believe he's gonna. But even if he doesn't, somehow he's got something even better that I can't conceive of in store. I mean, to walk by faith means like you don't know. I don't know for sure. And walking by faith can sometimes feel scary. But it's a different kind of scary than living your whole life in fear. Because what it is it shifts over to faith and it's like, I don't know, but I know somehow God's going to get me through this. The other day we took Charlie to this water park and, you know, I mean, I'm under the influence of my dad. Anybody here could say that? Like I'm under the influence of my dad had a lot of influence on me. And my dad's sort of way of raising us was kind of, and basically whatever you thought you couldn't do, he thought you could do. And whatever you thought was too much for you, he thought, surely that's no problem. And I've told you stories before, you know. My dad throwing me in a semi-trailer, and my dad, without a license, having me drive it to Ohio, pick up things, you know, things that normal parents don't do. You know. But his thing was you learn by doing. You get in there and you learn. So I took some of those traits, and now I have a 5-year-old daughter, and it's a problem, man. So I go to this water park, and like, I assume she can do everything there. You know, they got these terrifying water rides for like full-grown adults, and, you know, and so I'm always pushing her. And the other thing is she's short for her age, so she doesn't really make the height requirements anyway. And I'm always next to her. I'm like holding her. You know, I'm cheating these things. And so we got on these rides, and she couldn't go on the really good rides where you really get the thrill, you know, because she's not quite of the height. And so I just found like a young kid working there who wasn't paying attention. I'm like, get in this line. So I got her in this line, right? And I'm like, this is a good ride, you know. You're going to have some fun on this ride. And you know, they're not really paying attention to how high you are. They put the stick down and everything, and they're just, you know. And so we get on there, and I thought, well, the first one I'll take her on my lap, you know, because it might be a little scary. So the first one I'll be there to hold her. And I get there, and they're like, no, you have to go by yourself. And I'm like, oh, you're going to love it. It's going to be great. And she gets in it. It will forever be known as the red slide. She got in there, and this is covered, you know, so she couldn't see anything. And she goes down in there, and then all of a sudden, Vicki and I looked at each other like, I don't know if that was good, you know. And Vicki went next, and Vicki started screaming, ah! And I'm like, this is probably not good. So I went third, and you can't see anything. You're complete darkness, and it's just thrashing you this way and that way. And the whole way now, I am such a bad dad. I am such. Father, forgive me for I have sinned. I got to get to the bottom. Because this little kid, I know, is absolutely terrified to get down there. And she's in tears, just tumbling in the pool at the bottom and can't see anything. Dad, why did you put me on that ride? I said, it was your mom's idea. She was trying the whole time. You know, the terrifying thing when you can't see. You can't see. I don't know if I'm going left or right. I don't know if I'm upside or down. I don't know. It was the first time she'd ever done that. You know, the thing is, after you've been on a ride like that, like 15 times, it doesn't scare you at all. You're just enjoying the ride. And that's life. Sometimes you got to take the first dip, you know, in the darkness. Don't email me about my parenting. It's an illustration of other things, all right? Because some of you are stuck on it. I can see you, and you're like, well, did you get kicked out of the park? Tell me the end of the story. You're going to have to get on a slide that's dark. You're going to have to. You can't see. It's going to thrash you this way. It's going to thrash you that way. You're like, I don't know, when's this thing ever going to be over? And it seems like there's no one to hold on to, and I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. But what you will learn is that walking by faith is not about knowing which curve is in front of you. But what you know is that God's going to get you there. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, God's going to save us from this. They were fully convinced, and they had this thing in the back of their head that, and even if he doesn't, he's got some reason for it, because we're still going to do the right thing here. The truth is what sets you free. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were the only 3 free people there. Everybody else was what? Bowing down. They were enslaved. They were serving the system. Whatever they tell us to do, we'll do. Tell us to bow down, we'll bow down. I mean, every once in a while, you got to ask a follow-up question. I mean, no, every once in a while, you got to rebel a little bit. Say, I don't know. Now, what happens, just think about this. What happens if everybody bucks the lie? If everybody stands up? Now the king's in trouble, ain't he? Hello? Now he's got problems. He's only as good as the lie. That's why they get real furious with you when you don't bow down to it. That's why they power up. You start using things and titles and intimidation and get you to go down, go down, go down. Sometimes you got to stand up and say, I don't think so. I'd like a second opinion. The tempter comes to Jesus and says, here's how you get out of this. You turn these stones into bread. Just we read this last part. Listen to this. This was especially written to 20-something, or about, I would say, 20-somethings. But it says this, in a 2020 study by American Psychological Association found adults of all ages to be more distressed than ever. Again, this is what they would have. This is what they would have us believe. Somehow, something in the elixir of the air has fallen on the American psyche and made us all a lot more anxious and depressed. It's the water or something. But Don't look over here. It's not the lack of faith. It's not the fact that we're extracting God and religion and faith from real life. It's nothing to do with that. Don't look over here. Look over here. Really? We can't look at that at all? And look at church attendance going like this and depression going like this? We're not allowed to make any correlation? Okay. Thank you. A hefty 65% of men and women of all ages said unknowns related to pandemic, politics, and the planet were causing them stress. Yet our youngest adults, 67%, felt unable to plan for a future because they can't envision one they worry they will never see. That's how bad the lie has gotten, friends. Now, let me just be brutally honest with you. I was talking to a friend of mine, and they said, our kids now are not going to have children because they have been so lied to. Oh, man. I'm going to have to really start calling some of this stuff out. Friends. They have been so lied to that they believe they don't have a future. Talk about falling down to the freaking statue. I don't have a future. I'm not going to bring kids up because this whole thing's a mess. Are you kidding me? This thing's been a mess for a long time. Come on. Oh, we got problems. We've always had problems. Anybody got grandparents? But anybody hear of the Great Depression? Huh? That was an actual depression. The Great Depression, not the fake depression. No, this is a thinking about the thing. They actually had the thing. We're thinking that we're going to have the thing, and so we have this depression. They had this depression. So now I say, no, we're not going to have kids because the future's so bleak. Come on with that lie. Unknown is a part of life. We used to call it an adventure. That's what I do with Charlie. Every time I don't know what to do with her. Daddy, what are we going to do? We're going on an adventure. It means Dad has no clue. Just start driving and look for something. No, we used to think life was an adventure. Who knows what's going to happen? Let's go have some fun. Figure it out. Let's go make a difference in the world. Let's go be a positive impact. Let's go find somebody in need and fix a need somewhere. Let's go where someone has problems and lift them up. And who knows, God might show up, might stir up a little trouble over here. We could do a little good here. We could do a little bit of good over there. I'm going to tell you a crazy thing that this person wrote in this article. It said, one of the best things that will help you with all of this anxiety is a job. It's a heck of a prescription. You know what you need is a job. Huh? God, why? Because if you have a job, then what you got to worry about? Getting your behind out of bed and going to work. Putting it in. You just sit home and just think about all the problems. What do they do? Who here has ever let your mind take you in a bad way? Sit here and just think about, oh, it's so good. Come on. We're people of faith. Don't buy the lies. Don't listen to that. God has things planned for us. God has things planned for you that are beyond what you can ask or think or hope or imagine. What happened to Shadrach and those guys? Well, they did get thrown into the furnace after all. They did get bound, right? But what happened? What happened to the stuff that bound them up? The fire did what? Set them free. How many know it's the fire that will set you free? You go get a job. You go get a little stress on you. You go get it. Yeah, it's stressful. A job is stressful. Can I get an amen? Yeah, so I don't want to have anybody, so I don't want anybody yelling at me. I don't want anyone yelling at me at the drive-thru. That's what they do. They're called humans. They're called rude humans, right? And I don't want my boss. That's what a bosses do. Whoever got yelled at by your boss. Come on. That's what they do. And you get through it. You come out of that red slide. This is the first day of work. Oh, man. And you get what? You get your bearings around you, and you're like, get up in there and go again. I'm not claiming to be anything that I'm not. So just listen. But somebody has told us we can't make any correlation between faith, numbers going like this, from high down here. We cannot make any correlation to that. And depression going from here. I mean, these are words like my parents, when they used the word depression, they were talking about the depression. Now it's just in everybody's language. They're saying we can't make any correlation to that. Sure. Oh, you're not medically trained, Chris. You're not a professional. I know, I'm an idiot. I'm just an average idiot. How many know we could use a few more idiots in the world? Normally, like old people that just have common sense about things in life. I'm not saying there aren't some really smart people that can diagnose some very serious things. But we have bought a huge lie. And it's time. It's time that we stood up instead of bowing down. You know what it says when they come out of the fire? Who's free now? The sun sets you free, you're free indeed. Who's free now? Without the smell of smoke. You know what I mean? Like no smoke.